Wrapped up like a douche, another runner in the night, blinded by the lights. Wrapped up like a douche, another runner in the night, blinded by the lights.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Action News Network, Action Jackson. What we gonna talk about today is like the accusations of Donald Trump being racist, right? Now, to most black people, any white Republican is a racist, and basically any black person who supports Republican ideals or anything or a Republican candidate is a coon. Now, I belong to no party. I hate both parties, but if I tend to find that the Democrats are panderers, and I can't stand people who are closet or institutionalized racists, which are most Democrats are, meaning that they feel sorry for us, which is a sign of racism. That they pretend to be in your corner when really they doing the most destructive shit, right? Now, most Republicans and most conservatives, or they're on that spectrum, they either pandered to their constituents, which if they're rednecks and racist, then if you want to be a politician in that town, regardless if you have the same ideals, you better promote those ideals, right? Because that's what politics is a fucking game. It doesn't mean that everybody who smiles in your face and says that they're a Democrat has your best interest in heart. It doesn't mean that everybody that supports ideology of those who may be racist or even construed as being racist, right? Or biased. So, one problem that most black people have is that we're way too emotional. And for females, that's alright because females are emotional beings. Males, we are logical beings. But the black male, because of being emasculated by both society and by our own women in our community, we have become fairly emotional too. Now, it's okay to be an emotional guy, but when you respond and make decisions based off emotions in the same way that a female might make it, it doesn't allow you to clearly make a leadership decision, right? Now, we're gonna go into, is Donald Trump really racist? If you grew up in New York and you know who, or if you're from the New York metropolitan area, New York City metropolitan area, then you probably know Donald Trump very well. His name is on a lot of buildings. I'm always admired the fact that he put it, that, like whenever he put a building or whatever, the first thing that went up was the Trump. Always imagine seeing, like Jackson on buildings and shit as a kid. I kind of looked up to that, I thought that was real cool, like to have your name on it. Then he had his jets that he flew off, or his helicopters he flew from downtown. I remember being a teenager hanging out on the East River by the heliport and seeing the Trump helicopter go up. That was pretty dope, you know what I'm saying? I was kind of flying flashy as it's real New York, it's more like niggerish than having your name on a fucking helicopter and gold letters, like that's bling blow right there. So it was kind of dope, kind of real New York, like, styling and profiling. So, I always thought, he was kind of dope for a lot of that shit, and New York's about money, it's about power, it's about real estate. That's what the city is about, especially Manhattan. So, to see one man, regardless of what race, like sometimes we get caught up in dumb shit. You can admire somebody from another race for what they do and shit. You might not agree with everything they say or do, but you can admire and aspire to be, that successful. And for me, that was one. I have my own kind of dealings with Donald Trump. I've met him once. I was walking from the train station to work, and I worked in Midtown at the time doing security. So I walked by Trump Plaza and all that, right? So I walk by every day and shit. So one day, Trump comes out of there, and I read his book, The Art of the Deal, because, I'm always reading shit or whatever, and I thought it was interesting. Here's a dude real successful and shit, so I'm like, yo, when he picked him on to Donald Trump and, like, read his fucking book, this dude got his name on helicopters, planes, buildings, you name it. He buys up landmarks, all that shit. So when we picked this dude's brain while reading his book, and what be going through his head and shit, right? So I'm walking by, I walk by every day. Sometimes in New York, you can walk by a lot of famous people and shit and not even really notice it, right? Like like sometimes I'll walk by and a famous person will blend in, just walk right by. And New York is like, it's uncool to like fucking, to oh my God, because then you get like, you out of pocket, really. You know what I'm saying? You kind of out of pocket as a native New Yorker, as a regular New Yorker, if you act to a tourist like. So even if you see your favorite star walk by, you don't want to be out of pocket and shit. Back in the day, that could cost you your wallet or somebody mistake you for a fucking tourist, downtown or some shit. But before I digress and shit. So, I walked by and I seen Donald. I'm like, hey, Mr. Trump. And he was talking to somebody else. He was real busy, but one thing he did that was real cool was that he stopped what he was doing, and no matter how important that conversation was, he turned to me and said, "Yes, young man." And I said, "Hey, I read your book," and he was like, "Oh, do you have it on you?" And because I had my book bag with my stuff in it, right, for work, and I'm like, "No, sir, I don't have the book, with me." But it was a great book. So he asked me a question from the book, and I said it. And then he shook my hand, and then, like, he was talking to me for a second, giving me, like, some advice or something. This is years ago. I'm talking about maybe, like, 10, 13 years ago or whatever, so I don't remember the whole thing. And I remember, like, one of his people was just like, yo, not yo, but, his people was like, Mr. Trump, we have to go on schedule, and he was just like 1 minute. The fact that he took the time to talk to this young, early 20s, early and mid 20s young black man, in a not raggedy, but in a security outfit or whatever, on his way to work and shit. And he was talking to all these important people, I guess, or his people who do his schedule and shit. The fact that he stopped and talked, shook my hand, and gave me advice and stuff and crap, that I thought that was dope. So I always was scratching my head, and a lot of people was like, "Is this dude racist? This dude, if Donald Trump is racist or whatever." We gotta stop like throwing out that the race card all the damn time, because it is true that when you just blatantly throw that shit out all the time, it kind of loses its weight. You know what I'm saying? It kind of loses its value. Because then who is not racist, what is not racist, everybody's racist, right? According to black folk, if you don't agree with everything. So I'm gonna play a couple of clips of dealings that Donald Trump had with the blacks. Wait, I put the quotation in it. The blacks, and let you like be determined of it. Now, like, a lot of white people are corny, man, and they don't know what to say and when to say, and sometimes they try too hard to like not be racist or not sound racist, and then it ends up like backfiring and make them sound even more racist or something. I think that when he said the blacks thing, because like it's so funny, because who the fuck are we? I know who the fuck I am. I'm Cherokee, Yamasee, I'm a copper-colored American, Aborigine. All right, I'm Indios, firstborn of the gods. Y'all Negroes and coloreds and black and African American. So sometimes nobody knows what the fuck to call you. Next week you're gonna be fucking purple indigo or some shit. You're gonna be indigo Americans or something, So So like it could, I could almost understand where that might have came from. You know, like and then knowing Donald too with what's going on and shit, it could be just like you know, like when he did the Fiji water thing to bring attention to something or whatever. All right, so I'm gonna play some clips, showing black people's dealings with him and Donald Trump's dealings with the blacks. All right, so stay tuned and check it out. All right, so let's go. Let's do this. These are a few celebrities that black celebrities that supported Donald Trump. And I guess either y'all didn't hear about this shit, or you probably put them on the coon wagon. Because again, like I said, anytime a black person doesn't go along with the national black narrative, we tend to be fucking called out as being racist. I mean, not racist. I mean coons. We're cooning or whatever. There's a difference between being a coon and just not agreeing with shit. Sometimes the most cool thing you can do is go along with the fucking narrative. Because a lot of times these narratives are created and they're not created in the best interest for us, all right?
Well, Donald Trump is what Americans love. Donald Trump is what Americans aspire to be. Rich, powerful, do what you want to do, say what you want to say, be how you want to be. That's kind of been like the American dream. So he looks like a boss to everybody. Americans love to have a boss. So, that's his appeal.
Well, I think he's amazing.
Yeah.
I think
You do, despite some of the outrageous things he said? Or?
the outrageous thing he says, it just has, maybe that's what they said we were in common. It's like personality flaws a little bit.
Do you think that he's going to be
President of the United States. He should be President of the United States. That's what he should be. He should be President of the United States.
I think personally, Donald's a friend of mine. I just think he says it wrong. I think if he can reword some of the things he says and put it in business form, it'll really make sense. But Donald's like a straight up guy. Like if he sees your shirt tucked out, he won't put you aside. He'll be like, tuck your fucking shirt in. Rather than some guys like to wear their shirts out, but I think you should tuck it in. Like he's a straightforward guy.
This country is in an $18 trillion debt, right?
Correct.
It was 12. It was 10. But it's 18 trillion now. And all I'm saying is we need somebody with a great business mind that's business savvy to uplift us out of it. Now, if Donald Trump has the country's best interest and can uplift us out of that and get the economy back rolling in the right way, yeah, I'll vote for him.
I don't want to go on with that I don't like Trump. I love Donald Trump.
Do you?
I love Trump. Well, I love him. He's fucking rich and he's fucking lawless. Like, have you ever been rich and lawless? Yeah. Exactly. So he's fucking rich and lawless. He's wealthy and lawless.
Yeah.
Like, he don't give a fuck about that shit.
The African American community has been let down by our politicians. They talk good around election time, like right now. And after the election, they said, see you later, I'll see you in 4 years. The African American community, look, the community within the inner cities has been so badly treated. They've been abused and used in order to get votes by Democrat politicians, because that's what it is. They've controlled these communities for up to 100 years.
Mr. Trump, let me...
Well,
Unbroken. And I will tell you, you look at the inner cities, and I just left Detroit, and I just left Philadelphia, and you've seen me, I've been all over the place. You decided to stay home, and that's okay. But I will tell you, I've been all over, and I've met some of the greatest people I'll ever meet within these communities, and they are very, very upset with what their politicians have told them and what their politicians have done.
I mean, my number one thing, though, and
See that?
to be honest, is black people. I feel like
Racist boogie now.
we put President Obama in.
That was
the
more
White House.
sincere half the shit that
And when I
Clinton
look
fucking
back,
says, you
I
dumbasses.
just wanted more done for my people, because that's the name of the game. This is politics. Put somebody in office, you get in return the things that you care about for your community. I think we got a little bit shortchanged.
What Donald Trump is saying, look, his best answer is, I want to bring jobs. Let me do it for you. Best debate line, Democrats care about the inner city when it's election time. After election time, what do you get? Zero.
Zero.
What was
You're
her
right.
response? Quiet. Why? Because that is the truth. He told the unadulterated truth. And even though people don't want to hear the truth is bitter, but we have to swallow it. The Democratic Party, I voted for over 20 years of my life. I voted for Barack Obama when he said he was going to bring hope and change. And yes, we can, and no, we didn't. The jobs didn't come. The better schools didn't come. The investment in our communities did not come. National security, our borders are open. We're not safe.
Did it
We're
come?
not safe. And we've got to stop thinking
Are y'all
as
working?
black
Are we
and white
working?
and purple and Arab.
Nah,
We've got
right.
to start thinking as Americans. And that's what Donald Trump is saying. We're Americans. America first.
You know, to call your own citizens super predators is pretty harsh. And,
Hillary
you know,
Clinton
it's
called
pretty
young black men
big
super predators.
indictment. You know, it's just like the term thug or hoodlum.
He's exactly right, yo. He's exactly right. You know, he's exactly right. And I could do it with what's his name? I should put on this right here to see what George Lopez is saying about Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? But I might go through that later. Right now I'm focusing on the full blood rest Aborigines right now. I'll get to amalgamate this a little bit later. Yeah, man. That just doesn't sound like the kind of speech that would come from people who know him to be a racist person. All right, let me tell you something right now, yo. I had to leave the hood. I had to leave the East Coast. I had to leave a region where it's majority of us Aborigines at. Love New York, man. Love the culture. I love the fact that I grew up there. I love my accent. I love the struggles I had growing up there. It built me into the character and the person I am today. You know what I'm saying? That perseverance and that struggle and hustle, you can't find that anywhere else. At the same time, cities in the Northeast, and not even just the Northeast, because Detroit and Chicago, St. Louis, they would be considered Midwestern cities or whatever. You got a lot of cities in the South too that's beat up, but a majority of the northeastern cities and the north Midwestern town cities or whatever that are ran by Democrats are fucking shithole towns, and they have been shitholes for a long fucking time. There's no reason why Baltimore looks the way it fucking does. There's no reason why fucking Richmond, Virginia looks the way it does. There's no reason why fucking Philadelphia looks the way it does. Newark, New Jersey, Mount Vernon, New York, where I'm born and raised at. Fucking Camden, New Jersey. All right. There's no Newburgh, New York. There's no reason why all these fucking places are shitholes. The South Bronx, Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, South Central Queens, Jamaica, that area. There's no reason why these areas are fucking fucked up and shit. There should be no reason for that. The politicians come around, they talk a good game, and they say we're gonna fix this up and fix that up, and nothing ever gets fixed. Alright, they pocket all the money, and they the fucking worst scum. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. When I moved here, when me and my family was thinking about moving here and shit like that, we was looking at demographics. The city said it only had 6% of the population was fucking black or African American, which kind of makes you feel like, damn, we going someplace. Because think about that, out of every 100 people you'll bump into, 6 of them may be black. You know what I'm saying? You're not guaranteed to bump into them 6 black people in one day. All right, that's how small 6% of the population is. I can't go to any neighborhood in the town and not bump into black people. There's a lot of fucking blacks out here. We must not be on the census or something. And the whole thing out here is, I have not gone more than a couple of weeks with I can go like me and my wife both 3 days without having a job and go on an interview and get fucking work here. I would go like years in New York without really having a decent fucking job. All right, there's no real hood here, segregated by race like it is in New York. You know Harlem is where majority black people at. You know Bed-Stuy majority black and Hispanic at. You know fucking Spanish Harlem again, mostly Hispanic but black too. You know, even though we're the same fucking people, but whatever, right? South Bronx, same thing, black, Hispanic. You know these neighborhoods. You know, if you go to Riverdale in the Bronx, that's fucking mostly white and Jewish area. You know, if you go to Howard Beach, that's mostly Italian. In Queens, it's mostly Italian. You know, if you go to fucking the Rockaways, that's all Irish and Italian retired cops and shit, right? You know, if you go to Woodlawn in the Bronx, that's all it's Irish. You know, that's how New York is. Here, there's no neighborhood that's like that. You have East Valley, you know, and that's more upper middle class, and wealthy. But there's blacks there, there's probably the same number of blacks there as there is on the West Valley. All right, and the same thing with Hispanics, and same thing with whites. The West Valley is fucking more not run down, but it's just more low income, right? It's not as aesthetically pleasing as maybe the East Valley is, but you know it's still demographically the same. You have a lot of poor fucking whites. You have middle class Hispanics and middle class blacks here and shit, and middle class whites. And no neighborhood is really that, this overwhelmingly this, that, and the third. Right? And I love that because that means I have the opportunity to fucking make it and buy a house somewhere in a nice neighborhood and not really have to worry about, a lot of this shit. And this is a fucking red state. Right? Phoenix might be a blue city. They mostly elect Democrats, but I'm for their offices. But there's Republican people here too and shit. It's the state capital, so you got the Republicans in the area too. But it's a fucking red state, right? It might not be a red state forever, but I hope it stays like this because with Republicans in office and shit, it seems like things work really well for us out here, and the white folk out here real nice and cool. I had to learn how to tone down myself here towards them, because of the hostile environment growing up in New York with the racist ethnic whites that I dealt with growing up, and I grew up with nothing but Italian women teachers, and Italian male teachers too. That's why I have such a thick fucking accent and shit. But and they all loved me, and I loved them the same. But when it came to the police, when it came to, bosses I worked for, when it came to just people on the street of them as ethnicities, the ethnic whites, it's sometimes, and not all the time, but a lot of times it's a different fucking story. All right? It's really rough out there in New York. You think everything happens in the South, Jim Crow type of shit, but New York is still to this day very segregated, and there's a lot of racism there. And coming out here is a total different change, and I have done better here in this red Republican kind of cowboy ass state. So that's just food for thought. But we still struggling in the hood in Baltimore. We still struggling in the hood in Philly. We still struggling in the hood in New York. Then they fool y'all into going down to Atlanta and shit, and he was just box you into another struggle. So sometimes you gotta get out your comfort zone. Go to fucking Iowa. Like go to Utah or some shit. You'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised. You go out there, you see more black folks than you think. Because I really have this theory that we really not in the minority at all. Because there's no way in hell we 6% of the population in this damn town. We're more like fucking 20% of the population here, right? There's enough black folks for you not to feel fucking alienated. And then the Mexicans out here, they our brothers and sisters. We together. It's not on that Cali shit. So I love it here. It's real love. And then like the white folks is cool. And then the lawmakers, they legalize fucking weed basically, You gotta get a doctor's referral and shit. But you can go into fucking weed stores and go get some bud and shit. It's one step away from being legalized. How's that going in New York? They got them vending machines. You can't even smoke them shits or whatever. You gotta take some liquid drops or whatever. That's just liberalism for you. Alright? So, but I'm digressing. But I'm just trying to paint a picture for you of the bubble that we fucking live in. Alright? It's bad enough you think you from Africa. It's bad enough that you don't know who you are, that you from here and this is your land and shit. It's bad enough that you don't have no real culture because you, as an African American, which doesn't really fucking exist, you're creating culture as it goes along. That's why we such fad-driven people. Once you turn off the TV, turn off the fads and all that shit, you start to see things in a different light. All right. So let's continue though. All right. Relationship with Donald Trump and Mike Tyson, they real close friends. You probably wouldn't even fucking think it is, but they real close friends, like really fucking close friends. I met Mike Tyson once too. He's a real cool dude, man. Like Mike be in the hood, you know, he'll pop up to a fucking party somewhere, and if he's in New York, especially if he's in New York, yo, if you be in fucking Westchester, Yonkers, Mount Vernon. You know, at a house party, he'll pop up. You pop up in a house party in Queens, Long Island. You know, he's just that type of dude. But yeah, they're close friends and shit like that. And Donald has been one of his biggest supporters and stuff, and his vice versa. So again, this goes into like the question: Is Donald Trump really a fucking racist?
People have been asking me to review plays and movies. And I think maybe it's time that I do something. And the first is Mike Tyson. Now, I've known Mike for a long time. I believe he's fought for me more than anybody else. I've had him many, many times fighting, and I had him in his early career when he was really great. His play is amazing in the sense that it really shows the other side of life. It's tough, it's biting. Spike Lee did an absolutely great job, and I was actually surprised. I was invited to go by the Nederlanders, who own the theater. They're great people, and by Mike. And when I went there, I thought it would be a scene, and it was. Derek Jeter was there, a lot of great stars were there, a lot of athletes in particular. But Mike really did a good job. He showed life. He showed a life that a lot of people don't know. Growing up in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, a rough section, I know it very well, really rough. Going through hell, all of the problems he had with the wives and Don King and everybody else. And he really did an amazing job. I brought a great guy along with me, Andy Beal. He's one of the biggest bankers in the world. He owns Beal Bank. And he left, he was absolutely floored because it's a side of life that he's never seen. And he called me up the next day. He goes, you know, that Mike Tyson play was amazing. So I want to congratulate Mike Tyson and Spike Lee. Great job.
I watched how badly he was represented by an attorney in Washington that was charging $3 or $4 or $5 million.
No, I didn't pick my nose. I just like scratched my face. Like sometimes my beard and mustache itches.
And I watched or I heard about a girl that late in the evening knocked at a store, was taken in, was raped, perhaps not. I don't know. I don't know. Again, I think it was very badly represented. But I did see that number one, she knocks at 8 in the night. Number two, she's dancing in a beauty contest at 8 in the morning, and I saw the tapes, and I see a big smile on her face, and she's dancing happily at 8 in the morning. And now Mike Tyson's in jail for 4 or 5 or 6 years. I had a real problem with that case. I had a real problem with Mike Tyson's lawyers. I had a real problem with Don King. I just think that he was really fed out to the wolves.
But if in fact he raped her in that hotel room, regardless of whether she came there, you think that he should have been convicted and should have gone to the slammer?
He to this day denies it. I don't know that it happened, and I think that, as they said, if he didn't testify, he would have been exonerated totally. The jury said that. Mike was arrogant. He was a horrible witness from what I understand. And I'm not surprised. I mean, I would say that generally speaking, you don't put Mike on as a witness. But he was a horrible witness. And to get 4 or 5 or 6 years, I think that there was just too many circumstances. Again, she was in a beauty contest and she was dancing with a big smile on her face at 8 o'clock in the morning. 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, but the jury sat there and they listened to her, too. They had an opportunity to hear her and test her credibility. as they heard it, and also to face questions. This guy's not a bad lawyer. He may have handled his case bad, but he's the same man that represented John Hinckley and others and had an extraordinary reputation in a very good Washington firm.
I watched Mike, and I've been with Mike, and I've seen him, and people really take advantage of this man. And I want to tell you something. I think this is one of those examples. Now, I know we have a system of juries, and I know we have a system where if you're found guilty, you're guilty. But somebody like me, maybe who has a little bit more independent streak, can say, hey, Mike Tyson, in my opinion, should really be given another break. I mean, they put him in jail before he was even guilty, as far as I was concerned.
Do you believe he'll fight again, and do you believe he'll ever be the heavyweight champ again?
I think he'll fight again. I don't know that he'll be the heavyweight champ again. In the prison that he's in, they don't allow boxing. That's a long layoff. Some of the young fighters that are coming up in the heavyweight division are great.
But Ali came back from the years that he was
Ali
off.
came back. Ali was totally unique. He was a unique man, and maybe Mike will come back. I think Mike probably will be the champion again, but you have some young fighters coming up, heavyweight fighters like Lennox Lewis, who is absolutely phenomenal.
You think Holyfield's going to lose?
I think Holyfield, I'm not sure if he's going to lose now, but I think your next champion's going to be Lennox Lewis.
You've been a big supporter of Donald Trump. You feel like you need to apologize, Mike?
I don't know. Ask his fans if he needs to apologize. He's still ahead of the polls, and he deserves a chance. If they don't like him, they shouldn't vote for him, but they appear to like him. Anybody that was ever president of the United States offended some group of people. Some people were offended. So listen, we are supposed to vote against these women.
Now, he expressed his support for Donald Trump.
Alright, I'm not really playing that too much. Let's continue, yo.
Donald Trump have a big history. He's assisted you in your career. He's supported you on occasion. What are your thoughts on him today? You know, do you think that he's going to be a
president
great...
of the United States? He should be president of the United States. That's what he should be. He should be president of the United States. Why are people mad at the people? Because this is who the people want to be president. You see, when they say you see Donald Trump's polls, see, this is not going to happen because it's going to go down. So they're saying these people don't know what they're talking about. They're telling the people right in their face, all the Republicans, all the Democrats, all the independents, they're saying right in the people's face, you don't know what you're doing. You're gonna vote for me next week. You ain't thinking about Donald Trump. You're just riding on the bandwagon of success. They telling us we're stupid. That's what they're telling us. And do you see that too? No, really. That's
Well, I mean, no, absolutely.
That's what they say. These people are stupid. That's gonna go down. That means you ain't gonna keep your vote there. They're talking to the interview, but they're saying it to the people. Like the people don't listen to them. They hear, that's not gonna last. Like the people don't want to keep the numbers the way they are.
So he's got your vote.
Yeah, hell, big time.
So what do you think?
Why wouldn't anybody like that? A guy that came from where he came from and doing what he's doing, and now this is where he's at now. Know what that means? That don't mean he's a bad guy. The people don't know what they're doing. That means the people are tired of what you've been doing, what we've been doing the last 20 years. That's all it says. Let's try something new. We tried Obama, right? Time for a change, so we got to change. So now let's try something new.
Right.
Let's run America like a business. But no colors matters. Whoever could do the job gets the job.
So what is it that you
hear that? Yo, Mike Tyson woke, yo. He woke. He more woke than most of y'all, man. Y'all, and a lot of people think he's stupid.
That's what it is. He's the man.
Very smart dude, man. Just misunderstood.
What I like about him, anything, this is who he is. He's winning. He's ahead of the polls right now. And we as human beings, we always say, hey, let's treat people right. Let's take these people, let's treat them right. Let's treat immigration right. Let's do these people right. Stop killing these people. Stop. And hey, this guy's winning fair and square. He's not bribing anybody. You know, we're doing it fair and square, and we're all for the people, and the people want this guy. And why are the people bad? And why is he a bad guy? We're just envious. We're getting beaten, and that's just what it is. That's who we are as people too. We get mad when we get beat. The most humblest loser in the world goes home at night and cry. We getting beat. We're sad.
We'll be happy. Well, we got, I think, 109, and we got 109. We wiped the slate, and actually, and more to come, and more to come. It's a rigged system, and I tell the story, and you people like it because Indiana loves its sports. But it's a rigged system, and it's like the prize fighters. And I know Mike Tyson endorsed me. I love it. He sent out a tweet. Mike, Iron Mike. You know, all the tough guys endorsed me. I like that, okay? But Mike said, I love Trump, I endorse Trump, and that's the end. I'm sure he doesn't know about your economic situation in Indiana, and it's okay. But Mike, everybody, and I like it. When I get endorsed by the tough ones, I like it. Because you know what? We need toughness now. We need toughness. Hillary Clinton said recently, I don't like Donald Trump's tone. Oh. Look, they're chopping off heads of Christians in the Middle East. And anybody else that gets in their way, by the way. And we will rebuild, we will have, when I finish.
All right, I'm not gonna get into the rhetoric. I just want you to just hear them pieces right there. Because the rhetoric, we can go into a different fucking we could do a whole different topic, a story, a video about that. All right, but you kind of see the relationship between Trump and Tyson. Again, doesn't rub me as being racist, right?
Teddy. Yo. I ran into that young lady Maria last night. Word. Must have been her husband's payday. Because she bought me this here brand new diamond link that you see me with on. See, you know what I'm saying? You know why? Why can't you? Because I get the job done. I'll work.
On Trump in 1988, man, I was just coming out of diapers. Maybe just getting into like some sort of preschool type environment in 88. But here's Trump in 88. He's teasing the Oprah Winfrey show on the Oprah show. This is like one of her first seasons or whatever, real early and shit. For a lot of y'all kids, this is a real throwback. All right, this is to the 80s. You know what I'm saying? I remember Oprah looking like this. I remember Trump looking like this. But this is a throwback with him flirting with a presidential race. Right now, and the funny shit is, Donald Trump right here is like my age now. You know what I'm saying? Like we're about around the same age, at him at 88 and me here now. And so, you're early to mid 30s. All right. So let's see what he's talking about here. All right.
You took out a full-page ad in major U.S. newspapers.
Pay attention because it deals with today.
What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily. I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not. But I do get tired of seeing the country ripped.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings and we're not.
What do you think of this year's presidential race, the way it's shaping up?
Well, it's going to be very interesting. I think that probably George Bush has an advantage in terms of the election. I think that probably people would say that he's got like that little edge in terms of the incumbency, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Jesse Jackson's done himself very proud. I think Michael Dukakis has done one hell of a job. And George Bush has done a hell of a job. They all went in there sort of as semi-underdogs, including George Bush, and they've all come out. I think people that are around all three of those candidates can be very proud of the jobs they've done.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my
Pay
life.
attention.
And if I did decide to do it, I think I'd be inclined. I would say that I would have a hell of a chance of winning, because I think people, I don't know how your audience feels, but I think people are tired of seeing the United States ripped off. I can't promise you everything, but I can tell you one thing. This country would make one hell of a lot of money from those people that for 25 years have taken advantage. It wouldn't be the way it's been, believe me.
They ain't going to all I wanted you to hear him say, so I'm going to try to find the video that I really, really want you to hear, alright? Alright, this right here, I love Trump for. I swear everything I love, I do, yo. Let me get out the glare, my bad. Turn the light on. This right here, I love Trump for. A lot of y'all probably heard this shit before. If you didn't, it's funny as hell. It's him testifying in front of Congress when he was trying to get into the casino business or whatever in Connecticut, state neighbor in New York, right? And it was, so he is saying that, you know, that the Indians there don't look like Indians and crap. And it was almost like he was almost trying to say that now you can take it any way you want. They try to say the official narrative is that he was trying to imply that the mob took over the Indian casinos. There's no real evidence that the mob took it over to the point where if you know that they're living on the reservation and fucking making and taking the money, but I'm pretty sure they have a piece of the pie. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you know, they getting some money, they getting skimmed off the top somehow. That's how the mob does, but they ain't just start putting feathers on their head and pretend to be Indians. So that narrative is done. I think what Trump was saying was that he's getting railroaded out this deal, and you know, we have these Indians on the casino, you know, who are supposed to be chiefs and this, that, and third and shit, right? But they just about as white as I am, you know, like, you know, for Trump saying or whatever. And it's hilarious. It's his attitude and everything. You know, this is Trump early 40s, you know, still a little feisty and shit. It's hilarious. So just check this out. As an Aboriginal, I just think it's real funny and shit.
Is this you discussing Indian blood? We're going to judge people by whether they have Indian blood, whether they're qualified to run a gaming casino or not?
That probably is me, absolutely. Because I'll tell you what, if you look at some of the reservations that you've approved, you, sir, in your great wisdom have approved, I will tell you right now, they don't look like Indians to me. And they don't look like the Indians. Now, maybe we say politically correct or not politically correct. They don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like Indians to Indians. And a lot of people are laughing at it, and you're telling how tough it is, how rough it is to get approved. Well, you go up to Connecticut, and you look. Now, they don't look like Indians to me, sir.
Thank God that's not the test of whether or not people have rights in this country or not, whether or not they pass your look test.
Depends whether or not you're approving it, sir.